Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today's guest is a certified personal trainer and a teammate of mine who has a passion for fitness and grew up as an athlete. So when a friend told her about the bikini division, she crossed it off her bucket list and started competing in 2016 and continued through 2017. Then came back this year after nearly 4 years off to take home all top callouts, an overall win, and ultimately her IFBB Pro card at her first national show, which was Masters Nationals. I'm really excited to have her on and to hear more of her journey and share it with you guys. So welcome to the show, Carlie Lane. How are you doing?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited. Like I was telling you, I'm just so happy to be having this conversation with you.
I know it's kind of almost surreal because I listen to your podcast and it's so many people that I look up to and listening to their stuff. I'm like, oh my God, now I'm on this crazy. So it's really exciting. And I'm so honored and thank you so much for having me.
Of course. It's my pleasure. And then, because you listen to this, I got to know if there's anything you do or think about right before your heel hits the stage.
Oh my goodness. I feel like it has varied, to be honest, in the coming back this year after being gone for 4 years, I was a bundle of nerves, and stepping foot on that stage at first time, I just was like trying to just keep it together. Yes. I'm like, don't shake, keep it together, remember your routine, and then kind of as the season progressed and went along, I think my overall kind of thing I was just thinking was, it's your time to shine. You've done all the work, you've done everything you can do, just go out, have fun, and, give it all you got. And that's exactly the approach that I took. And it ended up being so much fun every time I got on the stage.
Yeah, you always look like you're having fun on stage, which I love. Like you really flow up there. And I want people to know, like I've been following your journey since I joined Team Edge, and I joined in 2017 myself. So you were already on the team, and I was so inspired and am still so inspired by you. And I'm just, yes, of course. And I'm really proud of you and just so happy for you. And I know Joe and Ingrid feel the same. And you just mentioned that you go in there thinking, okay, it's time to shine, do your best. But when you got into competing, you were afraid of being the center of attention, and yet you wanted a challenge.
My goodness.
So why did you do this?
I think every good adventure and every good story comes right after a breakup. Yeah. So I had just kind of gotten out of a relationship, and it wasn't the best one, and it was kind of a hard breakup. And I think in that relationship, I was very stifled. I felt like I was very controlled a lot, and I felt I had this new freedom. And I said, I want to do something that scares the crap out of me, because I knew that if I went and did something like that, it was only going to help me grow and get bigger and get stronger. And I was kind of chasing this sense of identity and sense of, I wanted to feel empowered by completing this thing that was like the worst thing in the world to me, would be stand up in front of all these people looking at me. And it did just that. I think I was trembling my very first show. I couldn't even, I don't even know how I didn't fall over. I was trembling so hard. And as soon as I got done and I walked off, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to do that again. I was hooked. I was right away. Immediately, I was hooked.
And you got first place at that show, right?
No, that one I did, that was before Team Edge. I did 2 shows kind of on my own before I joined Team Edge.
Oh, you prepped yourself.
Yes. I kind of did, in a sense that I did. I was prepping with this, it was a guy, he was a guy bodybuilder. And at the time I'm a hairstylist, and one of my clients says, oh, I know someone who's a bodybuilder, call him. So I called him, and I think I met up with him once a week, and we did a workout. So I was doing the workouts on my own, kind of writing my own programs. And at this time I wasn't a trainer, I mean, I knew how to exercise, but I was not a certified trainer like I am now. And then he was, giving me a diet in which I was not following at all. I was actually like eating less than what he was giving me, because at the time I was petrified of carbs. This was in, early, like 2015 or so. And I actually placed 5th at that show.
Wow.
So I got it. Yes, I did place top 5 in my very, very first show. And then I turned around and I did one 4 weeks later, which in hindsight, looking back, is something I should not have done. I kind of ran my body into the ground because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that one wasn't a great show either. I think I got around like 8th or 9th. And then I was like, you know what, whatever. And then that's when I reached out to Team Edge and to Joe and Ingrid. I said, okay, I want to do this, and I want to do it right. And so that started my journey with them.
That's amazing. And so interesting too, how you started out with such a different mentality than now. I mean, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in this past prep, at least, like you were really having to fill out with carbs and lots of food.
Yes. Oh my, I was literally, when I was getting texts left and right, Joe would be like, I'd send him a picture and immediately he's like, go get a burger and fries right now. Like right now. And I'm like, what? I was like, mind blown. And and that goes to show that there is no cookie cutter way of approaching this. And doing a season where I had 4 shows and basically, prepping for a long time, each week to week was so different because my body was so different in each moment. So there's no way to say like, oh, well, I did this last time for my prep, so I'm going to do it again. Like that's not, you can't approach it in that way. You have to really look at it on a week to week and day to day basis, especially as you approach, getting closer to your peak week. Changes are happening left and right. It was incredible. It was blowing my mind how much I was eating.
Yeah, that was awesome. And your body was responding so well, and you stayed full, yet you continuously got leaner. It was really cool to just witness that process. Had you had a prep like that before?
I hadn't, because when I did my one show with Team Edge, and that I was kind of a one and done with them in 2017. So I did a 16-week prep. I did my show. I won first place. I was so excited about going into nationals that year, and life had different plans. Which now looking back, I was so kind of bummed out at myself. I'm like, why didn't I go for it? And that's why I think I always kept this yearning in my heart to get back on the stage, because I just knew, I was like, why didn't I do that? But it was, life is life and things happen. So it didn't happen, but I now know that I think that was the universe's way of saying, not yet, it's not your time yet. Maybe I wouldn't have had such a success or such a great experience in that moment. And I was supposed to wait 4 years to come back and do it now. So this was a whole new experience. I've never done 4 shows back to back before. Yeah. It was my longest season ever. So it was, I was like completely open minded. I basically just said, Joe, take the wheel. Whatever you say to do, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to trust you, even if it sounds absolutely crazy. I'm just going to do it. And that's what I did.
Did anything sound crazy to you?
Not necessarily. I think, of course, as you're in prep, and I think we're all really impatient. And I think a lot of times, you think like, I should be further along, or, and I think my thing I would say to him often is, I'm not ready. Like, you think, am I going to be ready? Like, how am I going to be ready? Look at me. I don't. And he's like, just wait. You know when the magic happens. Come on, Carlie. So he had to kind of give me those pep talks at times. And I would go, okay, you're right. You know what? I'm just going to trust you. Zip it. And sure enough, he worked his magic, and I followed the plan to a T. I mean, when I say to a T, I don't think 1 ounce of anything off of my plan went into my mouth for those 9 months. Not one thing.
Yep.
And I said, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right. Because if I do it this way personally, if I know that if I do that, then no matter the outcome, then I won this thing. I won. Because I set a plan out. I laid it out in front of me. These are the steps I'm going to take, and I'm not going to falter no matter what. So even if I come in dead last, I still won, because for me, the journey is the best part. The stage is great. Who doesn't love the stage? And you feel beautiful and amazing, and you get to like do your thing. But it's how much I grow during my preps that I really, really cherish, and I really find to be the most value to me.
I love that mindset, knowing that you can be proud of yourself because you did what you said you were going to do, rather than only being proud of yourself if the outcome is what you hoped for.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, of course, I mean, everyone's goal is everyone might have different goals. Some competitors may approach this as, you know what, I just want to have fun. And I want it to be like a sometimes thing where, you know, they halfway follow their plan and things like that. And maybe they don't expect to win. And if that's what their intent is for this, then that's great. For me, though, being the person that I am, and I'm being an athlete and growing up, I'm overly competitive in everything I do. So my goal was a pro card. My goal was to win. But there's a lot of things you can't control. You know, you can't control who shows up that day. You can't control, you know, what the judges are looking for. And being a very subjective sport, I think you have to keep that in your mind, that you might not win all the time and you don't know what's going to happen. But for me, the part that like makes me feel so good about myself is the day-to-day grind and the day-to-day winning your prep one day at a time, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. And sometimes like you do that and the outcome still isn't what you want, and that can sting. But the good news is that because you committed to the process, that carries you forward into the next day and into that, whether that's post show or into the next show, whatever it is that your next goal is. I think that pride and that commitment to yourself actually sustains your efforts. And it's important to identify like what are those standards you have in prep and improvement season. Like I always emphasize this with my clients specifically. Like if you don't know what your standards are, you won't have anything to really guide your behavior, guide your day-to-day expectation for yourself. So you said, and you said you followed your plan to a T, which I'm literally the same way. Like I can't stand not, but I have taken a bit more of a flexible approach in the past season that I did. But I think that being committed and being communicative with your coach is also so important. And that's something that you really just said that you did. You were talking about how you were feeling, what was going on. But I'm curious how your post-show experience has been, since I know in the past that's something you had struggled with.
Oh gosh, the rebound is real. After my 2017 show, wow, that was bad. This time around, I have to say that it's been amazing. I think a lot of the reason is there's a lot of reasons why I'm succeeding in my post show. I think first and foremost that before I even started my prep, I started living the lifestyle. So before I got on my plan with Joe, I kind of put myself on a plan, to the sense where I started tracking my macros. I started portioning my food again. I started committing to daily exercise and kind of just got into the swing of things, so that prep doesn't come as such a hard 180 to your lifestyle, so that when you finally get this quote unquote sense of freedom after post show, you don't kind of swing the pendulum so far in the opposite direction. So being that, both in my time between my, in my 4-year hiatus, I maintained a lot of this lifestyle. And I think that really, really helped me going into the prep. And then really, I I focused on my post show during my prep. I didn't kind of wait until that day came up to go, okay, what's my plan? I was intentional throughout the entire time. Okay, when I'm done, I want my life to look like this. I want my structure to look like this. I want to continue these X, Y, and Z habits into my post show to, one, prevent that, rebound, which can be crazy for your hormones. It can be crazy for your body image and your mental health. And let's face it, like, I didn't really want to stop competing. I knew I was going to go into a post show, but I still want to continue competing. So I want to set myself up for success going into my next prep. So I knew that if I had a plan in place and I stuck to that, it would be that much easier going into my next prep. And I wanted to make it as easy on myself as possible. So it's been going quite well. I have to say, I'm really, really happy. I've maintained, my training. I train daily. Now I do go to a macro approach during my off season. Is something I do.
Me too.
I like my meal plans for the sense of it's easy for me to go look at a piece of paper and go, okay, it's Tuesday, eat this, because it's one thing I don't have to think. I don't have to think about, and that helps me because it makes my life easier, basically. But now I go to where I do a macro approach, so I can have more flexibility. So I can go out to dinners with my husband. I can, go to the birthday party, and I can fit other foods into my plan while still staying on my plan. So that's my approach for my improvement season / life season, I like to call it.
I love that. Yeah, I think taking a more flexible approach in the improvement season gives us longevity. Like, I have Joe's meal plan right now, and then I tell him, like, give me the exact macros on it too, so I can make sure I'm getting, because you could get ground beef on your plan, but then it's like, is it 93-7? Is it 90-10? Like, what is it? So I've been trying to be really focused on the execution at a different level, because I think even if we're following a flexible approach in improvement season with a lot of the times it's the same staple foods, it just gives us a bit more, like you said, freedom to enjoy outwards. But then we go into a prep and we have so much more knowledge about, I think, how our body feels and what's going to be best, and it comes easier along with just following a meal plan. So I was actually curious how, maybe if at all, earning pro status influenced the way that you executed on those commitments, because you gave great advice. I do want to highlight, you gave great advice on starting to think about your post show while in prep. I think that's really good. Maintaining the lifestyle and having those commitments that you uphold no matter what season it is, like working out every day and eating your food, making sure you're getting the food that you need for your body. But now I went on a little tangent there, just highlighting that. I don't even remember where I was going with it, but I was curious how earning your pro status maybe influenced your execution of that.
I definitely think, I have to kind of go back to like going into my national show. I said, okay, it's my last show of the season. Like, I knew my body was like, I'm ready for a break. I need to kind of step back a little bit. So I went into that show kind of with this, I'm okay with whatever happens kind of mentality. And I was like, well, maybe, what if this might be my last show forever? Like, I kind of didn't have like this crazy, like, I'm doing this, like a rigid plan to it. But then when I did get my pro status, I was like, fire lit again under my butt, like right away, like, oh my God, like, I want to do a pro show. And like, for a split second, I thought to myself, like, I want to start prep right now. I want to start prep right this second. I want to debut in like 3 weeks. Like, that's where I like, my heart was telling me, but my head said, no, if you keep prepping, it's going to be hard to start making improvements, because I could tell where my body was going. I have been 100% natural my whole career. So
amazing.
Dieting for that long, and you're going to start losing muscle mass. You're going to start breaking down those tissues. And so I kind of knew, like, okay, if I'm going to compete on this next level, I want to bring like the best I can be. And that's going to require some time away from the stage.
Yeah.
So I went into the improvement season with this thought in my mind that I am going to make every day between now and then count and try and get all the gains that I can. So I went to work right away in that sense. So, I mean, of course you enjoy a day here, a day there, but I feel focused on my improvement season just as much as I am on my prep right now.
That's awesome.
I have that same commitment and that same focus to this is my goal and what do I have to do to achieve that goal and what is the best way that I can set myself up to succeed.
That is such a good feeling. And truthfully, I feel like this past improvement season, with the exception of leaving 2017 going into 2018, like I've felt that way. And it's just a different energy where you're like, it doesn't matter what season I'm in. Like you're hungry, you're hungry for your goals. You are executing every day. And I know, we're still enjoying our life, which is great. And for you, that usually includes traveling. So how did you feel about traveling right after your show?
It's kind of interesting. It was a very big learning experience for me because I feel like I'm very much a structured person and I do kind of, my day-to-day looks very, very similar but I do love to travel. And usually when I travel, I let go a lot. I'm like, I'm going to have alcohol. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy that. I think though, this past trip I went a little overboard simply because it was a longer prep for me. And I kind of went a little kid in the candy store-ish, but it was only for a week. So as soon as I got home, I got back to work. But while on my trip, I maintained exercising. I trained every day. I did my cardio. But this is a testament to the whole saying of you cannot out-train a poor diet because it definitely did a number on me physically. Not only like, yes, great, I gained a couple pounds, whatever, and you retain water and, things like that happen, but I felt awful. So that, I think that just reinstated it in my mind and in my heart, just the place where I'm at when it comes to like my relationship with food is, yes, things are yummy and things are good, but I would rather feel good than overindulge in these things.
Yes.
So it kind of was like, oh, I remember this feeling. I see how this goes. And it kind of like both me and my husband were like, I cannot wait to go home and eat ground turkey and broccoli. Like that's all we wanted. By the end of our trip, he was like, oh my God, I can't, because I was the most supportive husband in the world. And he literally ate all of my prep food for 9 months.
Wow. And he enjoyed it.
Yes.
He missed it.
Yeah, he did, because it was really kind of a beautiful thing to watch during my journey. He actually started his own journey.
Wow.
And not by my pressure and not by every morning I'm like, do you want to go to the gym? No. And oftentimes, and then he just kind of started tagging along a little bit, and he has made these progress and leaps and bounds, and he's tracking his macros and he's weighing his food and he's lifting and he's happier and he's healthier and his mental health is thriving. And so he has adopted the lifestyle basically. And he's like, no, I like this food. And he says the same thing. I feel good when I eat like this. He stopped taking medication for heartburn. He stopped getting headaches. He feels much better. So he's like, no, this is it for me. So it is a testament to what proper nutrition can do for not just the outside of your body, but the inside, which is where I think I preach to my clients that I work with, because I work with mostly lifestyle clients. Focus on how you feel and let's focus on your health, and then the outside will come.
Yeah. That's so true. And then you see the actual value and benefit in your programming outside of it, just getting you to a physical result, which is in any stage in any journey, usually somewhat fleeting because our body's always changing, even if, we're doing the same thing. So I love that. I love the way that you thought of it. Like how am I actually feeling? What am I doing for my body as well? And to my body? And I think that so much of how we look at food or how we look at ourselves stems from how we feel about ourselves in the first place. Like if you felt like crap and like you didn't deserve to be a pro and your season was terrible, you probably would have cared less about how you felt because you were already in that like I'm not worthy type mindset.
Right. Yes.
So like
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's important that we actually want to take care of ourselves all the time. And I just love your emphasis on health, which actually I'm curious then, as a lifestyle coach, what do you think is maybe the most important things for people to establish in their lifestyle, especially if they're considering competing in the future?
I really, really practice, preach, and teach habit stacking, basically.
Yes.
I think it's really easy in the world that we live in, where, we're influenced by so much, especially with social media, and everyone shares, so let's say there's pros or other people you look up to, you see what they are doing. And people even say to me, oh my God, you wake up at 3:30 every day, you run at 4 a.m, or at the gym here, you're drinking 2 gallons of water. And they look at this checklist of things and they try to do it all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a recipe for disaster in anything. I mean, if I tried to go, all of a sudden be the best chef in the world in one day, I'm not going to be good at that. I have to learn how to chop an onion properly first, So I try to preach with them habit stacking and working on building a solid foundation. You can't build the house of your dreams if you don't have a solid foundation. It's never going to work. It's going to crumble. So work on those things, like making sure you're getting, enough sleep, making sure you're consistent with your nutrition, making sure that you're getting enough water, making sure that you're paying attention to things like gut health, stress in your life, managing stress, all of these things, and getting those things running like a well-oiled machine. And then you can throw a prep into it, because if you're, disorganized and all over the place and sleeping 2 hours a night and can't seem to, eat consistently, you're not going to be successful in a prep if you just decide to pick up that program and execute it on day one. It's definitely not going to happen. Or it might happen, and it might be a very unpleasant experience, because it's too much too soon of something that you're not comfortable with. You have to get comfortable with systems and order and structure before you can expect to have a successful prep.
So true.
Yeah.
And I think you're emphasizing again is the health and the habits and the consistency. So
mm-hmm.
Did anything
Absolutely.
Did anything set you back or take you away from bodybuilding in 2017? Like, maybe talk to us about why you stopped competing.
Yeah, I mean, I won that show, and I was on cloud 9, and it was, yet again, it was a really crappy relationship that I was in. I was in another serious relationship, and I was engaged at the time, and I ended up calling off the wedding, and it was just kind of a lot of emotional stress and trauma at the time. And I just kind of knew that there was no way I could also put a prep on top of that, because prep, it's a very physically stressful thing. Obviously, you're working really hard. It's every day, giving it your all, giving it your everything. And I think that because I was so emotionally wiped out, I just knew I couldn't do it. And then my year had come up. My opportunity to then move forward to go to my national show had passed. And I said, okay, well, maybe this just isn't for me, and I kind of stepped away for a little while, like I said, but it always really kept a place in my heart. And I had this sense of, I'd see other people competing, and I would get almost jealous. I'd be like, oh, I want that so bad. I want to be doing that. But I had to work on other parts of my life first before I could really give it my all. And I had to, get all those ducks in a row and get life figured out. And then I was in a really, really good place when I started this season. Physically, my health was great. Physically, I was in really good shape because I had been, for almost a year, I'd been really implementing and focusing on my health and my nutrition and my lifting. And emotionally, I was in a really, really good place. I had recently gotten married and life was good. I felt safe and secure, and I felt solid. And I said, let's give it a shot. And I went to my husband. I said, I think I want to compete again. And he said, I support you. And that we took off like bat out of hell, and we went for it right then and there. And I think that's why I also was so successful in this. You have to be in a certain place to give your all to a prep for a competition.
So true. And
yeah.
How, I guess I should rewind. So you went from having some pretty is not even the right word, but having some unhealthy relationships.
Yeah.
And then you took that time off after calling off your wedding. And now you're married to someone who's super supportive of you and who was like, yeah, let's get you competing again. And I definitely want to talk to you more about your competing journey, but I think it would be important to also highlight how you got to an emotionally healthier place and found who is now your love.
Yeah, it was, well, therapy is fantastic. I highly recommend it. Not if you're going through traumatic breakups in your life, but just in general. And I think at the time too, and looking at the almost the two bad relationships I was in, they were mirror images of each other. Like I went from one to the next, like identical, same person, same, dynamic. And I kind of, after that, I stepped back and went like, whoa, what am I doing? Like I have a pattern. Why is this happening? And then I just really had to do a lot of soul searching and a lot of inner work. And I kind of had to just look in the mirror for a good long time and come to these realizations about like, who I was and why I was choosing these things in my life and creating this environment for myself. Because essentially when we pick people, these are choices. And I spent a lot of time alone by myself. I traveled alone. I did everything alone until I was ready. And I wasn't even really ready. I mean, it's a long story. When my husband actually walked back into my life, we have known each other from 10 years ago, like right as I was like booking all these trips and I was going to see the world and I was doing all this stuff. And, the universe brought us back together. And it was when I was ready to then be accepting of a healthy relationship and of a dynamic of this kind where I could thrive and feel safe and it's healthy and normal and all the things that I had been searching for in all of the wrong people.
It takes a lot of courage to recognize that there's a pattern that needs to change and that a lot of the responsibility is yours.
Ownership is huge in anything in life, taking ownership of your thoughts and taking ownership of your actions. And that's exactly what I had to do. And it wasn't easy. It was a very hard kind of time, but as with anything in life, if you want the best or to be the best or to have the best for yourself, it's never the easy road to get there. It's always going to be the hard road. It's always going to be climbing that mountain. It's going to be doing the work to get to the top of whatever it may be. If it's, healing traumas or, solving relationship issues, going into prep, climbing, the ladder in your career, you've got to dig in deep and face those hard things and, with your fist up and say, I'm ready to do whatever I have to do this.
Wow. Beautiful.
And that's how you get there. That's how you get there. And it's never, if you take the easy way, you're going to get the not so great results in anything. And I think I just kind of live by that, that kind of motto. Like if I want the best, you've got to be the best. And if you want to be at the top, you have to work the hardest. You have to, give it more than the person next to you, and hold yourself to a higher standard even. Like, okay, if what I've been doing has gotten me here, I got to step up. I need to level up if I want to move up. If I want to get better emotionally, then I need to go to see the therapist and do the work. You know, if I want to be better in my competitions, I have to take my feedback and execute it and do the work to get to that next goal. You know, you want to make that promotion in your job. Okay, work harder than everyone else in the room to get that promotion. You can't expect greatness if you're only giving half of your effort.
Preach it. Yes. That's the truth.
So I mean, I kind of, and I think sometimes people might actually think that I can be a little abrasive or crass, but I take a no nonsense approach to it. And you know, if clients come to me, oh, well, I'm not getting the results I want. Okay, well, did you do X, Y, and Z? Well, no. Well, there you go. Like it's a very simple math equation. A plus B equals C. So if you're leaving B out, you're never going to get to the C, because you have to, you get out of what you put into anything in life.
Yes.
And if you're not going to give something your all, then you can't be disappointed when you don't meet that goal, or don't, you know, win or get the promotion, or solve your, you know, bad relationship issues. So that's kind of my philosophy on anything in life.
Yeah, so true. And don't expect it to be handed to you or worked out for you. Like, I think,
yep.
I know I've dealt with this, and I'm sure you have too, because you're a coach, and like, people will invest in what they want to become or what they know they need to address, but, and I'm talking financially, but
right.
True investment is energetic, and it's commitment based, right? Like, you actually have to do the work. Like, it's not just, oh, I bought this program, or I hired this coach. It's like, no, I committed to everything my coach or my mentor or the therapist asked me to do. And and then I sought out more ways to apply it. You know what I mean? Like, you have to really be willing, if you want to be better anyways. I mean, you could get half better with half effort, and that's, you know, that could be a longer, more painful process or confusing process, but can't just expect it to be handed to you.
Absolutely. I tell my clients all the time, I say, I give you the roadmap. I lay it out. Here's your roadmap. You have to drive the car. I'm not driving it for you, because your success is equally dependent on your effort. And that goes with anything. Like, oh, well, I didn't want to meal prep because I'd rather watch TV. Well, then guess what? You're not going to hit your macros tomorrow. So it's you have to put that effort in, and in a interesting way that, like, especially for me, like, the little tiny bit of effort, like if we take meal prepping, for example, it literally takes me 30 minutes to meal prep. It's not rocket science. It's super easy, but it saves me leaps and bounds of time and energy for my entire week. So by being prepared and putting in the effort on the front end of things, you're not scrambling on the back end of things. And it makes life so much easier. But it's putting in that effort and making things a priority in your life. What's a priority? Is that Netflix show for 30 minutes a priority, or is making your meal prep for tomorrow a priority? That's basically what it all kind of boils down to. Every day, life is a series of choices. You wake up every day. What coffee you're going to drink? What shoes are you going to put on? You know, are you going to go to the gym or not? Like, do I turn left? Do I turn right? Everything is a choice. And what choices are you making that are going to help you reach your goals?
And why are you making them?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, are you what? You know, are you doing it because you feel you have to, or, you know, and two, I think by you saying that, why are you making these choices? What is your reason behind wanting to do this? What's your driving force? I think, you know, a lot of people in fitness, I ask people, you know, when they first come to me, I'm like, okay, what's your goal? I want to look like I did when I was 35. Or I want to, you know, they have these kind of like fleeting or superficial kind of reasons. And I think when you really dig deep down inside and really get to the nitty gritty of why, like why, you know, were you happier at 35? I actually asked someone that question one time and she goes, no, I was miserable. And I said, so why are we associating with that moment in time? If you were miserable, I weighed this much. And I'm like, so what does that number have to do with anything? You know, like you got to have your reason why you want to do this. Like, do you want to be, you know, healthier for your children? Do you want to, you know, feel sexy in your own skin? Do you want to win a competition? Do you want to, you know, run a marathon? Like, you you know, to feel empowered? Like, what are the reasons why? Not just like, oh, I want to like this girl on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because that's not really that reason is not going to fuel that fire and help you stay committed to these goals. It really has to be something that comes from deep down inside.
Yeah. And that's actually proven, you know, like this isn't just, you know, talking out of our ass. It's actually a thing. Like if you have the type of intrinsic motivation that comes from not only meeting your needs, meeting your needs, as well as having it be a driving force in your life, not something that's just because you should or because you think that's what's best, but like you were saying, it has to be
or really because someone else is doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It has to mean something.
It has to really, really mean something. And I think for me personally, I grew up in, oh my God, like breakfast was a piece of chocolate and a Coke. Like, it was like health was not a factor in any of this. I think I grew up in the South where everything is just food driven. It's not healthy. You know, it was very different. And actually watching, I think family members, like young people and their health being so awful and not being able to walk up a flight of stairs simply because you're that, you know, unhealthy was like, I knew a long time ago, I did not want that. And I want to be on this earth for a long time. And I want to live all my days to my fullest. And I want to be as healthy as I can. And that's something that like resonates with me and drives with me. I want to do everything in my power to you know, take care of this one body that I've got. It's the only one I got. I want to keep it running really, really well for a really long time.
It's a controversial question maybe, but is that part of why you've chosen to be a natural athlete?
I think so. Yes. I haven't had any children yet. I want to have a family. And I think the unknown of not knowing how things like that would affect that for one. But also I just don't think it's very healthy. Like, I don't want to put it's like a unknown. I don't know. I'm one of those things too. Like, I want to know everything. I want to know exactly why, what's it going to do, what's going to be the outcome. And I think there's a lot of unknowns with like, obviously you can take these things and they're going to, you know, they're performance enhancing and stuff like that. But down the road, what is it going to do to me? You know, and taking something like that could potentially harm my health long term isn't worth it for the sake of a competition. I want to know that I achieved this goal by simply blood, sweat, and tears and everything of my own accord and things that my efforts, not something from an outside source.
I hear you on that.
So I just have always kind of taken that approach that like, well, if I did win something, was it me or was it that? Like, did I really do that? Or was it just like, oh, I took some drugs? So I don't know. I just, it's just always, it's always been a non-negotiable for me. It's never even been something I've looked into or thought about.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that. I know that was maybe not an expected question, but I was genuinely curious, and you've achieved a lot in a maybe surprising period of time, which is really cool. And I'm hoping now you could maybe walk us through, one, how you've kept health a priority throughout your preps, and two, just your prep journey from start of this last season to earning your pro card.
Okay, so we'll go on the health one first. I kind of knew after when I first went with Team Edge and went with Joe in 2017, I went to them for that reason. Like, I destroyed my health on my own. So I was like, I need guidance here. And it was during that experience that I really, my eyes were open to the fact that you can maintain your health and compete. You can have both. It doesn't have to be where you destroy your health and wreck your hormones and all these things. You can have best of both worlds. So I kind of knew that. And so I knew going into this prep that I wasn't fearful of destroying my health. And another approach, I prefer I call it the low and slow approach to prep. I think we all want to get on that stage as fast as possible. We pick a show date and that's our show and we want to have it. And we're going to do whatever we have to do that. And I personally don't take that approach. If I've set a show date and it's approaching and I'm not ready, I will push that show. Because to me, the extremes you're going to have to go to in that short amount of time to achieve, your desired results are going to be detrimental to your health. And it's just not worth it. I'd rather do it for a little bit longer and maintain those things. Maintain my health, maintain keeping my menstrual cycle, and maintain all that. So that was always my thing. Like, if I'm not ready, then I'll just go longer. I'll take a longer approach to it. And I think that a lot of my success in this season is the fact that I did take a very, very long prep. It was almost 10 months in total. So I think that that's a huge factor to both maintaining health and to success in my placing.
Most definitely. Yeah. So your ability to go and be patient and take a slow approach ultimately also allows you to then maintain your health.
Yeah, definitely. Because as you're cutting calories as you're moving through your prep. They were very minor drops in calories. There were never these times where it's like, you're dropping things by 500 a day. And then all of a sudden you're like, exhausted and hangry and life is awful. And you're walking around like a zombie because you're like starving yourself to death. One, I don't want to live my day-to-day life like that during prep. And two, I don't think that I think your physique is going to suffer. Yeah. When you take those extreme measures, it's just, you're not gonna, when you do finally stand up on that stage, you don't look healthy. You don't look full. You don't look, it's like, so I knowing that, I was willing to be patient, and I was willing to kind of put that ego and that pride and my, my quote unquote, my want, the I want it now thing, instant gratification aside, to say, what is going to benefit me long term? What do I have to do to achieve my goal with the best results possible? And for that, it was to take a slower approach to everything.
I love that. I love that you were willing to do that too. And you've brought up how much you've trusted Joe to keep your health in mind as well. And you guys were really strategic. With this season. And I'm curious what's kept you with Team Edge over the years.
First of all, I love both Joe and Ingrid. Like, oh my God, they're the best people ever. I love them so much. And I think there is a dynamic between competitor and coach. There's relationships and dynamics through anything, and I think we just clicked in the beginning. And I've seen, first of all, their success speaks for themselves. They've helped a lot of girls turn pro. and just their knowledge is so extensive, and they know what they're doing way, more. I'm a coach, but God almighty, they know so much more than I do. I'm constantly learning from them too. So it was a no-brainer that I was going to continue my journey with them after being with them in 2017. I knew without a doubt going on stage was going to be with their guidance, no matter what. And, I listened to him, like literally I did everything he said, to the point where when we first set out for this season was, I'm going to do a show. And it was just a show. And that first one was going to be Muscle Contest Fit World. And I didn't really have any expectations. It had been a long time since I'd been on stage. And it was a weird time too. It was like, we're coming out of the COVID stuff, and it was still when you had to wear the masks on stage, and it was such a weird time. So I set out as just once again, a personal goal. I want to prove to myself that I can do this, that I can get back up there. And I wanted the journey. I wanted the prep, really, is what I was looking for. So we went into that one, and I ended up taking second in open and then first in my masters. And this is my first year competing in masters. So this is also a whole new world for me. So I got first there, and it was like, okay, I'm going to nationals. And that was it. That was the plan. And then I was going to regroup. I was going to take a couple days off and then get back on it. And we were going to set out our roadmap for nationals. And then I had decided that my mother and my family down south has never seen me compete. So I decided, well, I'm kind of already in it. I'm in prep. I'm going to go do a show down there. So March 20th was the Fit World here in Southern California. Then April 10th was going to be Bayou Muscle, which was in Louisiana. And I just it was going to be a fun show, just something to do, to have fun, have my family see me, spend some time with them. And that show was a doozy. I took everything in that show. Yes. I got first in open, first in mastered, and the overall, which I was like, oh my God, I was so excited. And to have it be in my home, it was just such a special, special time. I will keep that in my heart forever and ever. It was a really kind of special time. And then at that show, after all the shows, I always go up to the head judge, and I always want to shake their hand and just say, thank you. Thank you for being here, sitting here all day and looking at all of us. That's a big job they have. So I went up to the head judge, and he's like, where are you from? I've never seen you before. I said, oh, I'm just basically visiting or whatever. And he shook my hand, and he goes, go get your pro card.
Wow.
And that's what he said to me. And I was like, he's like, you got it, girl. Like, go get it. And I was like, oh, like that made me feel so good. And I absolutely, at then, like, my confidence like was really boosted. I was like, wow, like I won it overall. Like, this is so exciting. So then I came home, and I, go to Joe, and they're, of course, they're like so happy for me and all this stuff. And we're on FaceTime, and everyone's like, I'm like crying, like, oh my God, and so that was really great. And so I come home, and I said, okay, so what national show should I do? And we were kind of up in the air about, there was, and looking at time frame wise too. Obviously, when we're looking at these shows, we're looking at like, okay, we have X amount of weeks till this one and X till that one. And what's going to be the best fit for me, where I'm at physique wise, where I'm at health wise, and also from like a strategic standpoint, like what's going to be best. So our options were either going to be nationals in Pittsburgh, or then NBC USA's, which I think, did they move that? They moved it to Arizona this year.
Yeah, it was there last year.
It was supposed to be in Vegas. Okay, so in Arizona as well. So I said, what should I do? And Joe says, you're going to do Pittsburgh. And I said, okay, like no argument, no nothing. He said, go there. And I said, okay, fine. I'm going to do whatever you say to do. So I did that. And then I get an email, maybe a week or two later. And he was like, oh, you're also going to go do the NorCal in Sacramento. And I was like, what? Excuse me.
Awesome.
Because I had no plans to do that show at all. I was actually kind of I was excited to take like maybe a week off. I was feeling a little tired, and I was like, I wanted to take a week off and then jump back in for the rest of my prep and maybe do some traveling, eat some food. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, I want you to do it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. If you say do it, I'm going to do it. I was a little reluctant, but I jumped in, gave it my all, and I went up there. And it was such a crazy experience. I've never done one of their shows. And that show, it felt like a national show to me. Like the level of competition at that show was unbelievable. There were so many amazing athletes there. I was so scared. I was looking around backstage like, oh my God, like, I don't know if I should be here. Like I was, and then I started to almost kind of doubt myself a little bit. Like, I for the first time, I felt like the little fish in the big pond instead of the other way around. And it was humbling, to say the least. But I said, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to own it. I'm going to do it. And it actually was really great. I placed second in both my classes. And I was thrilled. I was so happy with that second place. And actually, Sable Hodgson was the one that I took second place to. And I was just in awe of her. She was just so beautiful and so graceful. And she took first place. And then that very next weekend, she went to junior nationals and got her pro card. And I was like, oh my God, I took second place to a pro. Like that was what I thought. I wasn't upset that I got second place. I was like honored, like, wow. Like that, like I had already won at that point. By that point in my season, I really felt like, oh, this is it for me. Like I've hit the peak. I'm on cloud 9. I was really, really amazed. And I got some great feedback from Sandy at that show and sent it right to Joe, and we got to work. And I basically, she had mentioned a couple things about my posing to work on, and then just coming in like tighter basically. And I said, I can work on the posing. I got that. I said, Joe, do your magic. Tell me what I got to do. I'll do it. I don't even know at this point, because sometimes like when working with Joe, because I do have some decent knowledge, I'll say, oh well, what if we did this, or what if we do that? So there is a dialogue between us, and I say, well, what if we tried this? And he'll say, oh, I don't think that's a good idea because. And so we really bounce the ideas off of each other and work together. But at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, you're the king of this. I'm just going to listen to you. And I just did what he said. And it really was interesting because, like you said earlier, how I was eating so much food and I just kept getting leaner and tighter and leaner and tighter. Like I was backing off of things. He was pulling cardio away towards the end instead of upping it. So it was like a really interesting and exciting time during my prep, because it was like my body was just kind of on this like mind of its own and was just on autopilot, and it was going in all the right directions. And watching him and his way of thinking and what he was doing to get me to where I needed to be was a huge learning experience. And it was just a really exciting time. I was having the time of my life, basically, leading into the national show.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that was basically like how the season went.
Yeah.
And and then nationals came up, and that was a whole like I was so nervous going up there. I mean, it was my first national show. I've never been. So I didn't know what to expect. It's the fear of the unknown, of course. It was exciting, but I was pretty nervous going into it. Even just going to like check-ins, like, I don't know, I had this like, ooh, feeling.
Yeah.
Check-ins. Yeah. Like I was just kind of like, and I was all alone. I didn't have, Joe or Ingrid or a teammate, nobody. My husband went with me. It was just me and him. So he's like dropping me off to check-ins and all this stuff. And I'm like walking into this big, huge hotel all by myself. And I was just kind of like I was like, oh, I'm so nervous. I'm scared. I felt like I was in like Disneyland for the first time. It felt so like everything was so big and so new and exciting. And it was really an interesting experience too, because the day of the show, I was the calmest I had ever been. It's kind of hard to describe. Like I'm a high strung person. I'm like ball of energy. And this particular day, it was like, I don't know. I just felt like I had just meditated for like 6 years and was like all zenned out. And it was just this really strange feeling. And I remember sitting backstage and I didn't really look around a lot this time. I'm guilty of, looking at the other girls that are backstage and going, oh God, look at her delts, or, oh gosh, her glutes are great. And that comparison kind of comes in. And this time I didn't do that. I didn't do any of the self-comparison. I just kind of was like happy. I felt happy. I felt like really blessed to be there. And I was just living in gratitude in the moment. And it just was a kind of a breeze of a day and then my mind was completely blown. Then I got my pro card.
Yeah, that was awesome. I remember just seeing you, post on your story about how you had ended up in first call out center and never got moved. And I was so excited for you. I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Were you still surprised at finals, or were you like, no, I'm getting it?
Well, I'm definitely not it's not in my personality. I'm a very humble person. I've never been like really cocky. And even to this moment, I will probably almost say like, do I really deserve this? Like, I kind of live in that spectrum of things. I never count my chickens before they hatch, as they say. So I remember, I did have a girlfriend there that she was in my class. We competed against each other. She's back home from Louisiana. And I remember she went before me, and then I got off stage and she was waiting for me and she was jumping up and down. She's like, you are gonna get this,
That's
she's
awesome.
So excited. And oh my God, it was like, she's like, oh my God, like freaking out. And I was still really, really kind of, I think it was shock, honestly. I can't say that I was calm. I think I was literally in shock. Because when we were on the stage, basically I was called out third, so standing in the third place, and then the head judge moved 2 girls, right? And then she moved 2 other girls. And so by this time there had been like a couple comparisons, a couple girls had moved. So I was like, oh my God, I got third place. I'm so excited. Like, I was thrilled. And then she calls my number, and you're doing your thing, and I'm at the peripheral. I'm like, wait, the girl's to the left of me that I got to move to. Where am I going? And then I got moved to the center, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in the box. I'm in the box. And I was like, oh my God. So then when I got off, I was really in shock. Like, did that really just happen? And then I got emotional. I like started to cry, and I was like, oh my God, like this is really happening. So then my husband comes running, out, and he's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I said, wait. We're not going to do this yet. I called Joe and I said, what do I do? He's like, eat this, go put your feet up. And I said, get me to the hotel. So we go, and I'm laying there. And then my same friend comes up to my hotel room, and she's like, oh my God, you're going to win this thing. And I said, no. Like, she's like, how are you not so excited right now? And I said, well, it's not over till it's over. And I always put it in my head to, I've got to hold this physique. I've got to fight till the very, very end, because what if that girl standing next to me comes back looking even better at final? That's a possibility. And I'm not going to go in there thinking I've got this, because I don't think that's a good approach to have. I think you got to go in as the underdog, thinking you got to still fight for that win. And that's exactly what I did. And when I was the last one standing out of the top 5 lineup, I was like, oh my God, like tears were coming. And then I got off stage, and they were holding all of the first place winners to do the overall. Yeah. And all the girls like, don't cry, your makeup, don't cry, and we're all, the next girl would come off and she'd be crying, and we're like, don't cry, your makeup. And so it was really kind of a cool experience, because there's about 7 of us back there just kind of hanging out, waiting to then go back up for the overall. And we're all like in shock, and our eyes are really big, and we're like, did this just happen? And so it was really nice that we really got to share that moment with each other. And I've become friendly with one of the girls that I met that day, and we follow each other on Instagram now. And it's like awesome, because it's like we will remember each other in that moment in our lives forever,
Yes.
I'm gonna get all emotional talking about this. Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah, it's such a crazy feeling. Like, I think too, because like when you asked in the very beginning, what do you think about right before you go on that stage? And this last time it was different. And like I said, I was at like in such a peaceful place and in such an accepting place of, I killed this. Like every single day, day in and day out, gave everything I had to give. So I felt like a winner in that regard. I felt like just stepping this foot on this stage that I'm about to stand on is a win for me. Like I made it here. And I made it here not halfway. I didn't make it here coasting my way into this. I came here knowing that I did everything I possibly could to be in this moment. And so I was just ready to have fun. That's the one where I said, have fun. And I didn't feel nervous, and I didn't feel, and it was, I don't know, it was just such a crazy feeling. Like my routine flowed really easy. I don't know. It was like a kind of an out of body experience almost, I guess you could say. Yeah. But it was kind of magical, I have to say. It was like magic.
That's amazing. I love that you remember it so clearly too.
Oh my God. And I think that's the reason too, that when I was in the back of the, like backstage, it's very, very easy. Like, especially like, when you have your wedding day, you're going to realize that the day flies by so fast, and there are bits and parts of it that are really kind of blurry to me because I wasn't fully present. And so I kind of took the approach of this moment and this day, like this may be my one and only national stage, because I said, what if life takes me in a different direction? What if I decide to have a family? What if? And so I said, like, I wanted to be like as present as I possibly could be that day. I didn't post a lot backstage. I didn't go on my Instagram. I was just kind of hanging out. I really wanted to be in that space of being alone that I have now found, like I found solitude in those years where I told you I spent a lot of time alone. And I kind of just wanted to be there. I wanted to be with myself and with my feelings and be really, really present. So I can literally close my eyes and see the entire experience because I was all there. I wasn't worried about the girl next to me or worried about that or worried about that cardio I skipped last week or should I have eaten that thing? Like none of that was there because I had a clear mind, I had a clear conscience, and I was able to like live fully in the moment.
That's amazing.
So it's like my little personal movie now in my mind.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's really, really beautiful. And I'm really happy you had that experience. And were you alone backstage as well? Or were you with your friend?
I was. My friend, actually, she came with a group. There's a group of girls that I had met during the Bayou Muscle. So I had met them. And it's such a funny story. So the friend that was jumping up and down for me, we haven't seen each other or spoken in 20 years.
Wow.
We were friends in high school and we lost touch. And through life's funny ways, she went on to be a competitor, and I did too. And so I got, after Bayou Muscle, I had someone following me, and I in the little, the pictures are so tiny on the Instagram. I'm like, hey, what is that? So I see a girl in a bikini. I thought she was maybe a competitor from the show. So I followed her back, being supportive or whatever. And then I get a DM and it's like, girl, I just put 2 and 2 together. And do you remember me? And I'm like, what? And she's like, it's me. And we put 2 and 2. And I was like, oh my God. And so we, found out after that she was going to be doing Masters Nationals. And so we had talked a lot and planning for her to be there, but she was actually there with a group of her girls from Louisiana. So they were off in their little spot pre-show doing their thing. And I chose to sit by myself. I chose to be alone and kind of go off in the corner by myself. Because I kind of wanted the moment for myself.
Yeah.
I didn't want to really share it with anybody else. Now, when we went back for like finals, then we were together and we were having fun and we were laughing and having a good time, I think. But I think I was so in the zone going into prejudging that wanted to be alone, and I was okay with that.
For sure.
I really enjoyed that time backstage. I remember I wasn't even talking to like my husband. I just basically said, hey, we're going to be on at this time, come back, then. Like, we weren't talking. I didn't talk to anybody. The only person I really talked to was like Joe, just keeping him updated. Like, hey, I ate this at this time, blah, blah, blah. And he would be like, okay, do X, Y, and Z. But that was about it.
Yeah. It's such an amazing story. And I'm so glad that you have such vivid memories, and you've shared, just not just your journey, but really good insight into the journey and the way that you think and the processes that you've employed. And before I ask you for your best advice, is there anything I didn't ask you that you wish that I would have?
Oh gosh, I think we've covered all the things. I feel like between life and relationships, the prep and this. No, you even went about like post show and stuff like that. I think we've talked about everything. Is there anything else you want to ask me?
The only other thing that I do feel like the same as you, we've covered a lot. And I guess the only other thing that I had written down to maybe get into with you was any injuries or setbacks and the things that bodybuilding has taught you, because I know that you recently squatted again for the first time. So I was like, maybe we'll get into that. And
right.
So yeah, maybe you could talk to that.
I'm no longer squatting now. Thank you. We're back to not squatting again. Yes, actually, it was discovered after my very first 2 shows that I have. Interesting enough, I have like the bones in my hips didn't grow properly, and so they don't fit together quite nicely. And through years and years of athletics and stuff like that, and especially through my first 2 preps, I ended up tearing the labrum in my left hip.
Oh no.
Yes, I know. So it's not fun. It's a big old mess. But basically, when I was to the doctor, they said, you need surgery. You're going to be on crutches for 3 months. No, you can't walk for 3 months. And I was like, what? That's not going to happen. At the time, I was a hairstylist. I stand up for a living. That can't happen. So that, I think that also too was a lot of the reason, not necessarily like in 2017 after my first show, was not continuing my preps. Not only was I going through that emotional stuff, but also physically my body was like in a lot of pain. Because towards the end of that first show with Joe and Ingrid, I couldn't even do cardio. I was in so much pain. Walking was a chore. And so I fought through. We finished out the season. I actually won. I couldn't believe that. And so I took a lot of time off. And since then, I've been working with a fantastic sports medicine doctor who agrees with me with keeping me out of surgery. And I am religious with physical therapy. So I go to physical therapy a lot to keep me up and running, because I always said, as long as I can continue to do the things that I love on a daily basis, then I'm not going to go and have surgery. Because the guarantee of the surgery isn't there. It's about a 50-50 shot that it's even going to help. And sometimes you end up a little worse than you started off. And for me, that's just not a risk I'm willing to take. So I have to modify a lot. I modify a lot of my exercises. It is a struggle at times. It's frustrating. But I think I'm so stubborn that I won't let it stand in my way of anything, and I'm going to find a way around it no matter what. And that's the way I had to look at it, because with injuries, it can be very, very discouraging.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to achieve this, to be an athlete and to achieve these, physical goals. And I mean, but you could visually see in my back pose that my left glute was about half the size of my right. It was completely imbalanced. And it was very upsetting to me because, as bodybuilders, we're trying to achieve that perfect symmetry in our bodies, but, through the grace of God and really, really great medical team and therapists, I was able to achieve my goal, which I'm forever indebted to these people. I still see them. I'm actually going today to my physical therapist. So
wow, that's awesome.
I'm still doing that because I still have setbacks and I still have injuries. I didn't run for about 3 weeks because it was really bothering me. And so it's an ongoing battle, but I think if you take the approach to, I'm not going to let this stop me and I'm not going to let this be an excuse to give up on my goals, then there are ways to achieve it. It might not be the conventional way. It's a roundabout way, but I think anything is possible as long as you don't give up. We only fail if we stop trying.
So true.
I'm going to continue to try, for as long as I can until I get old enough and they give me a hip replacement. So.
No, let's hope not.
Yeah, because, I actually asked for one at one point. I'm like, can I just get a new hip, please? This thing is killing me. But yes, that's also, my journey about that. And I do talk, like on my Instagram, I highlight that a lot. And I think that's just something, because I look at it this way, like there are people that are in wheelchairs that are bodybuilding. You know what I mean? Like there are people that have it. I always think that I can't be the worst. There are people that have things so much harder than I do. I cannot complain about this. I cannot let this be a reason that I'm not going to try. Like that's a non-negotiable. Like, no excuses. I got to keep trying. You might not always win. You might not win the day. I might not have the best workout, but I'm sure going to go in there and I'm going to try.
Yes. So it's better than not doing anything at all.
Not doing anything at all. I talked the other day, I have my methods and my systems. I don't know. Are you a very systematic person where you have your routine and like,
oh yeah,
every morning it's this and this, and that's how so I'm the exact same way. And a wrench got thrown in my gears the other day, and for a minute I was like, you know what, I'm not going to work out today. And then I was like, what are you doing? What do you know? Go in the garage. You got 30 minutes. You can make something happen in 30 minutes, So it's really all in your head. Everything is in your head, and it's in your mindset, and it's the way you choose to look at things. It's going to be your biggest tool is your mind.
Absolutely.
Always. So yeah.
I'm really glad that we went in that direction because I didn't know all of that about you, and I admire your strength and also your perspective. My dad always sends me like videos of or stories on people who do have it quote worse or however we want to put it. And it does put things in perspective and remind us, oh wow, we are capable of a lot of times more than we give ourselves credit for, or more than we choose to believe that we are.
Absolutely. And I also operate from a very big place of gratitude. Like from the moment I open my eyes and I take my breath, like, wow. Like I don't know if it's like, feels like I'm weird, but like there are people that can't breathe on their own. There are people that can't put their 2 feet on the ground to get out of the bed to make a cup of coffee in the morning. Like how lucky am I? I'm so blessed that I am healthy. I can move my body, although it's not perfect, but I'm still capable. And so I think when you really get to the really nitty gritty of the simple things in life that you should be grateful for.
Yes.
1, it brings abundance in your life, but 2, it puts things into perspective. Like I don't have to go to the gym today. I get to go to the gym today. Like there are people that can't afford a gym membership, that can't move their body, that are too ill, that don't have the energy, that are, I just can go down this list of things of like the reasons of people that would die to be able to walk into that 24-hour fitness.
Yep.
And how lucky am I that I can? So there's not a day that goes by that I will take that for granted and look at it as, oh my God, I can't believe I have to do this. Like, no way. This is a luxury and this beautiful, blessed life that I live. And so I'm going to take this one day that I get, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. I'm going to take this one day and I'm going to make it great, and I'm going to make it good. And I'm going to win this day by holding myself accountable and showing up for myself and making sure that I take steps towards the promises and the goals that I made for myself for that day. And you feel really fulfilled at the end of your day when you live like that.
I love I love your perspective and mindset, and I'm so grateful that you're bringing it here. Yeah, of course. I think a lot of what you are sharing and have shared and will share is insightful and likely going to make a big and positive impact on our listeners. So can you leave us with your best advice for girls who have never competed before but want to?
Yes. I definitely make sure that if you are going into competing, first set a clear and definite goal for yourself, in the sense of, like I said before, like, do you want to make a career out of this? Do you want to go pro? Is that the route you want to take? Or is this something that you just want to try on for fun? And set realistic expectations for yourself. And once you set those expectations, be honest with yourself about what you're willing to do and what you're willing not to do. And if your prep and your competition and this goal you set for yourself doesn't take that main priority in your life, then maybe competing isn't for you, because there is going to be a lot of life that happens during prep that you have to not avoid. You have to still participate in birthdays and weddings and, things that happen. But if you're not going to make your prep that priority and make it something that you're choosing to do and something that you're loving to do, then you're going to get resentful and you're going to say, oh, well, I can't. And if you wish that you could participate in these things more than you want to be in prep, then it's going to be a hard road. So I think that really getting clear with yourself about expectations, goals, and willingness before you kind of get into it is the best advice I can give. Because I think a lot of people think like, oh, well, it'll be easy, I can do that. But then now you're put in the situation where you have to decide, like, oh, there's birthday cake and pizza and this and that. Well, is that pizza important, or is your prep important? And I think that the people that let the other things kind of win end up not succeeding in their competition journey, and then they get discouraged and they start to play the blame game. And if you're not honest with yourself about like your active role in things, then it can get a little messy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, going back to your point of ownership.
Oh, a complete owners. You have to own that. And too, I think a lot of people, so what's going to happen too when you first go into prep and a lot of your friends aren't aware of what goes into this, they're going to feel sorry for you. Oh, yes. I'm so sorry you can't have this. Oh, I'm sorry I'm eating this in front of you. I'm sorry. And unless you aren't saying to them, no, I'm choosing this. This is my choice. Yes. I'm choosing I want this. Then that's where it can get a little weird. So you have to want it. You have to really, really want it, and you have to choose it daily. And that's how it, and it still happens to me all the time. People say like, working when I was working in a salon, it's a big donut factory. Everybody brings donuts, and they would always go, oh, I'm sorry, Carlie. And I'd say, don't be sorry. Like I'm happy. I'm happy prepping. I'm happy choosing these things. This is my choice. I'm fulfilled by this. So you have to make sure that it is something that you think is going to fulfill you more than a donut, or more than, cocktails at a club, or more than, these other things that you, that may have been important to you before. At one point in my life, they were very important to me. So it's about perspective, it's about choice, and it's about ownership.
Amazing. And what would be your best advice for someone on their road to pro?
Oh, on your road to pro, I think do not give up. Don't give up. Take the feedback, as much as it can sting sometimes, because you look at yourself through your lenses, and they're looking, the judges are looking at you from a different perspective, and you can say, well, I looked better than that girl. Well, you can't look at it from that approach. You have to look at it as, okay, bigger shoulders, check. What do I need to do? Communicate clearly with your coach. what is expected of me to achieve these goals and give it everything you've got. And just keep going every day, keep going, no matter what. Even if you feel discouraged, even if you feel tired, even if you feel fed up, like, just keep going.
Beautiful. Amazing advice. And I mean, like I said earlier, you've just had such great insights throughout the whole entire episode. And I want people to be able to continue this conversation with you, or maybe connect with you and learn more from you. So can you let everybody know how they can find you or work with you?
Absolutely. So definitely Instagram is probably the best way to get in touch with me. My handle is CLFit_IFBB Pro. You can find me on Instagram and then DM me. So the one thing I'm not good at is technology. So working on a website right now and getting I'm great at lots of things, but I'm a very young millennial. Technology. So I don't have a website just yet. We're working on that, but I do one-on-one coaching, mostly lifestyle coaching. I love transforming people. I work a lot on mindset, habit building, things like that. So you can always find me through my Instagram and follow me. I'm always, sharing lots of fun stuff and just really my day-to-day journey of just my lifestyle now that I'm in my off season. And yes, I'd love to welcome anyone into my world, and I'd love to, meet as many people as possible and hopefully learn from them as well.
Oh, I love that. And I'll make sure I put your Instagram link in the show notes, which you guys, if there was parts of the episode, yeah, of course. And if there were parts of the episode you guys liked, you can always go back and know exactly when we talked about those things, because we timestamped the episodes and you've got tons of episode notes with summaries. So when you guys want to review that, that's always on celestial.fit/podcast. If you're looking for Carlie's episode, just scroll down to the category section. It's in alphabetical order. If you're listening right away, it's at the top of the page. So make sure you go there to get the links and the show notes and everything that you're looking for, as well as resources. There's tons of resources there that I've made for competitors and that are there in general, as well as like discounts from different companies like Shoe Fairy and Protan. So I would definitely go there if that's something you're looking for as well. But I appreciate you guys listening every week. It means a lot to me and sharing it on your story. So definitely tag us as you listen. That always means a lot to me and the athletes. And Carlie, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun, and this was just amazing. And I feel, like I said, I feel so cool now
oh my God.
after listening to your, I feel like I'm like fangirling out over here that I actually got to be a part of this, and it's been wonderful. And my main goal in life is if I can even just like help one person, like I love helping people. So if somebody gets something good out of this and it can help them along their journey, then like that means everything. I appreciate having me.
Oh, there's no way I wouldn't have had you on. So thank you for coming on. Seriously.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. You're so welcome. And to everybody listening, hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you're in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.